And welcome, sports fans, to today's Roundtable. Glad you joined us. We got a lot of high school basketball to get to from last night, and it's been quite a good week in high school basketball. We've seen a lot of good matchups, and we'll get into those matchups from last night here in just a few moments. And what a big game we had on YHC last night, and through SemoSportsZone.com. That was Dexter and Bernie. Dexter pulling out that victory in dramatic fashion, coming down to the last possession. And we've got an interview with Rob Nichols, the Dexter basketball coach from that contest. We're going to play throughout today, as well as Travis Quertermous being along with us to talk about that game as other games that took place last night, and just kind of talk about where we're at in the season so far. So we've got Travis along with us today. And also from last night, we want to give a shout out to a few kids that were at the game, and they're actually Bernie Mule fans. And we got Cade Burke, Noah Foster, Josh Ellenberg, Skylar Schwint, and Luke Tanner. Is that right? Yeah, Luke Tanner. It's got some Bernie Mule fans we want to give a shout out on the round table today, and they're sitting right there behind us in the broadcast. We want to make sure we give them a shout out today. And go Bernie Mules. They love their mules. So just want to give them a shout out for today's roundtable. And let's go ahead and move on to some scores from last night. And we'll start off with the one we had here on YHC, 54-53 victory for the Dexter Bearcats over the Bernie Mules. And what a game for the Bearcats in the Stoddard County Conference especially. They're having that seeding meeting for the Stoddard County Conference tournament today, I believe. And Dexter did very well for themselves to get that victory over Bernie, potentially a top 3 seed in that Stoddard County Conference tournament. So big win for the Bearcats. They got a win previously this week against Bloomfield, and 2 very good Stoddard County wins for Dexter in this past week. And Bernie just came out. They started out well. Not so well. Dexter got an early lead, but stormed back and actually regained the lead in the second half, and just went cold. Didn't really have a good night shooting. The shots weren't theirs they typically rely on, but got to give credit to Dexter, defending Bernie in that three-point shot and making plays when they needed to, and they ended up leaving Chandler Young all alone for that last basket, the freshman for the Bearcats, all alone underneath. Scored an easy 2, and that was enough. Bernie couldn't come down and score with a few seconds remaining, and the Dexter Bearcats come away with the big victory against the Bernie Mules last night. We'll have that interview with Rob Nichols in our next segment, so so stick around for that. He was very excited, as you can very well imagine, for his Dexter Bearcats. And in other games last night, we have Malden over Bloomfield. That went into overtime in Bloomfield last night. 64-60. Nice win for the Green Wave on the road. Also, Risco defeated Campbell handily, 83-41. Advance over Richland, a tight one, 85-77. Impressive showing by the Richland Rebels on the road at Advance. They actually had the lead, I think, at one point in the fourth quarter. Just dropped that one in the end, but impressive showing by the Richland Rebels. Also, we have Charleston over Scott County Central, handily 87-64. And Matter County Central got a big win in the SEMO Conference over Cape Central, 52-49. And Willie Jefferson hit a three-pointer at the buzzer, I believe, in that contest on the road at Cape. So impressive victory for the Eagles last night. Maplewood Richmond Heights defeated Sykeston 70-66, giving Sykeston their first loss of the season. Maplewood Richmond Heights, one of the top teams in Class 3. They're in the top 5 in Class 3 in the state of Missouri. And, of course, Sykeston still number 1 in Class 4. They dropped that one last night, but awful tough opponent for the Sykeston Bulldogs. And also we've got Oran over St. Vincent, 64-46. Win for the Oran Eagles. Kennett defeated Seaman Hornersville in the Boot Hill Conference, 60-19. Sizable victory for the Kennett Indians last night. Also, Leopold really putting it on Marquand, 121-41. That's the team to look out for. Leopold very sizable victory over Marquand, but they've had an impressive season so far, and boy, they got a big lineup. I think they go about 6'5", 6'4", and I think even a 6'2", 6'3" guard, and they're led by Kyle Stroder, and he's having a heck of a year. He's about a 6'5", 6'6" guard. They can kind of play inside out, and haven't really come across Leopold this year, but they're going to certainly be a team to be reckoned with in Class 1 this year. So they just might be the team out of Southeast Missouri that goes to Columbia this year in Class 1. And also we've got Holcomb over in Elyville, 64-41. Hayti over Crothersville, 72-65. Nice win for the Hayti Indians in the Boot Hill Conference. And also we've got Poplar Bluff over Twin Rivers, 71-47. Delta over Bell City, 66-59. Oak Ridge over Zalma, 73-57. Doniphan over Naylor, 53-43. And Portageville defeated South Pemiscot. I believe it was by 18 points. We don't have the exact score, but a nice win for the Portageville Bulldogs in that Boot Hill Conference. And those are the games from last night, and we got some big games there. Starting to size these teams out a bit as we head into conference play for most of these teams, and a few conference tournaments will be upcoming as well. So looking forward to seeing how this kind of second half, and not really the second half, but after the Christmas tournaments, you get to kind of go into this conference stretch for high school basketball. And we'll go ahead and move on to the rankings for this week for the state of Missouri in basketball, as well as the CMO Sports Zone Top 25. CMO Top 25 for the boys and Top 10 for the girls. We'll start out with the state rankings for high school boys. Start out in Class 1, South Iron at number 1. They suffered a loss, I believe, this past week, so we might see them down in the poll for next week. 2, Medville. 3, Drexel. 4, Glasgow. 5, Fair Play. 6, Eminence. 7, North Andrews. 8, Leopold. 9, Bramer. And 10, Ridgeway. In Class 2, Billings at number 1, 2, West Platte, 3, Canton, 4, Sacred Heart, 5, Gallatin, 6, Holcomb, 7, Bernie, 8, Iberia, 9, Salisbury, and 10, Crane. Class 3, Madison Prep at number 1, 2, Charleston, 3, Maplewood, Richmond Heights, 4, John Burroughs, 5, Higginsville, 6, Fatima, 7, St. James, 8, Clever, 9, Stratford, and 10, Southern Boone. In Class 4, Sykeston at number 1, 2, Lafayette out of St. Joseph, 3, Duchesne, 4, Republic, 5, Liberty North, 6, Mexico, 7, Center, 8, Moberly, 9, Westminster Christian, 10, Park Hills Central. In Class 5, Nixa at number 1, 2, Hazelwood Central, 3, Lee Summit West, 4, Christian Brothers College, 5, Blue Springs South, 6, Hickman, 7, Desmet, 8, Parkview, 9, Rockhurst, and 10, Ladue. And those are your boys' rankings. And we'll move on to the girls' state rankings for the state of Missouri. In Class 1, we've got Walnut Grove at number 1, 2, North Mercer, 3, Wellington Napoleon, 4, Dadeville, 5, North Andrews, 6, Wooblu, 7, Glasgow, 8, Norborn, 9, Montrose, and 10, Mound City. In Class 2, number 1, Silex, 2, Archie, 3, Sturgeon, 4, Sparta, 5, Skyline, 6, Crane, 7, Seymour, 8, Morrisville, 9, Salisbury, and 10, Crocker. In Class 3, St. James at number 1, 2, Ash Grove, 3, Trenton, 4, North Callaway, 5, Herman, 6, Monroe City, 7, Saxony Lutheran, 8, Lutheran out of St. Charles, 9, Principia, and 10, Lathrop. And Saxony Lutheran into that top 10 this week for Class 3, and they have been over the past few weeks. Impressive girls team there in Saxony Lutheran. Now in Class 4, Incarnate Word at number 1, 2, Republic, 3, Sullivan, 4, St. Charles, 5, West Plains, 6, Pleasant Hill, 7, Miller Career Academy. 8, Dexter. The Dexter Lady Bearcats been at number 8 probably for the last 3 weeks in the state of Missouri in Class 4. 9, Webb City, and 10, MICDS, Mary Institute of Country Day Schools. Now in Class 5, St. Joseph's Academy. 2, Rockbridge. 3, Truman. 4, Nixa. 5, Blue Springs. 6, Parkway South. 7, Ursuline. 8, Hickman. 9, Ozark. And 10, Parkway North. And those are the girls' rankings for the state of Missouri. You see there, Dexter in that top 10. I think they're really probably a top 5 team in the state. The way they're playing right now, hitting on all cylinders and winning in decisive fashion in each game for the most part. Now go to Class 5, would you, Rick? Okay. And yeah, the Dexter Lady Bearcats playing very well, and even Saxony Lutheran, the other Southeast Missouri team, we're seeing in Class 3 in that top 10 in Southeast Missouri. And let's move on to the SEMO Sports Zone Top 25 SEMO poll for the boys. And for number 1, as they have been since the poll opened up 5 weeks ago, that was Sikeston at number 1, 2, Charleston, 3, Poplar Bluff, 4, Cape Central, 5, Holcomb. No change in the top 5 this week in that poll. 6, Kennett moving up from 11. 7, Jackson up from 8. 8, Oran up from 10. 9, Bernie up from down from 6. 10, Oran. 11, Notre Dame down from 9. 12, Hayti down from 7. 13, New Madrid County Central. 14, Leopold up from 15. 15, South Pemiscot up from 16. 16, Park Hills Central. 17, Cruzville. 18, Advance. 19, Twin Rivers. 20, St. Vincent. 21, Bloomfield. 22, Oak Ridge. 23, Scott County Central. 24, Portageville. And 25, Scott City, which was not in the poll from last week. Now on the bubble, looking on the outside is Doniphan, St. Genevieve, Malden, Risco, and Chaffee. And that's your SEMO Sports Zone Top 25 poll for Southeast Missouri. And looking at the girls' Top 10 poll for Southeast Missouri, Dexter at number 1, 2, Saxony Lutheran, 3, Notre Dame, 4, Clearwater, 5, Poplar Bluff, 6, Naylor, previously unranked, 7, Neelyville, 8, New Madrid County Central, 9, Scott County Central, and 10, Jackson. And that's your SEMO Top 10 poll for the girls this week. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with Travis Quertermous talking about these games over the last week and where we're looking at going forward in high school basketball. Also touch on some other sports as well. And also we'll have that interview with Rob Nichols talking about their victory over the Bernie Mills last night. So don't go away. We'll be back with that coming up.
With an interactive home security system from New Wave, your family comes home to peace of mind. Now we bring you the future of home security. Arm and disarm your system remotely from your office computer or iPhone. Even look in on family or pets with live video from inside your home. In an emergency, our 24/7 alarm monitoring responds with the help you need. Peace of mind wherever you are. Now available from New Wave Communications.
At Glen St. Kennett, we have a lot full of inventory and the best rebates of the year. I'm Danny Ford, owner of Glen St. We just want the opportunity to talk to you about your next car or truck. The rebates are the best of the year and interest rates the lowest to work with. It's a great time to buy, and our people are excited to help you make the right choice. We realize you have a lot of dealers to choose from, but I can assure you no one appreciates your business like we do. Glen St. and Kennett, and God bless our troops.
When I was a kid, we didn't have all these wireless devices. We only had one computer plugged into the wall, and we were grateful.
Technology changes fast. Stay ahead with blazing fast internet speeds from New Wave Communications. New Wave delivers the internet with incredible speeds, up to 50 megabits per second. Pick the package that's right for you. New Wave, the area's fastest internet, period.
Kids today don't know how good they have it.
Land
And we're back along with Travis Quertermous, a YHC sports contributor of ours. And Travis, good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Tyler. Always a pleasure to be back on the roundtable.
Sure, we've had quite a bit of basketball to go through the Christmas tournaments, and now a couple weeks of basketball after the Christmas tournament. So we've had quite a bit of basketball since we saw you last.
Very exciting action. Of course, we saw a great championship game there at the Bloomfield Christmas tournament.
Yeah.
Holcomb with the big upset over Kennett, and proud for Coach McBroom and his squad. They've got a good season going, and they just keep rolling right along. I think they've won 8 games in a row now. So, and good to see them in the top 10 in Class 2, very deserving. So hopefully they'll continue to make a lot of noise as the season goes along.
Sure, and we saw some nice games last night, even ours with Dexter and Bernie last night, and always a big game between those two, big rivalry, and it lived up to the billing.
That's right. Dexter has really had a rough season this year, but as the old saying goes, when those two teams get together, just throw the records out the window. It's always going to be a tight game, a very hard-fought game, and a big upset win for Dexter.
Yeah.
I didn't think many people gave Dexter much of a shot to go down there to the Mule Barn and come out with a victory. But hats off to Coach Nichols and his squad. Chase Young, DJ Dowdy had big games, as they have been having here lately, and Dexter's been playing much better defense here in this 3-game winning stretch. So it's going to be interesting to see how the seeds come out. Dexter's still sitting at 4-9 on the season.
Undefeated in the conference.
Undefeated in the conference,
Yeah.
though. So you can make an argument for Dexter, Bernie, or Advance, all three in any order in the top 3 there. And you can't overlook Bloomfield and Puxico. Puxico beat Dexter in the Bloomfield Christmas tournament. So there's no telling what's going to happen. Richland's playing much better.
Yeah, much better.
They gave Advance quite a game last night,
did.
and they've had a young man by the name of Grayson, a sophomore, really step up and help Richard Forshee, their big 7-footer there in the middle. And so Richland has improved quite a bit. They're going to be a tough first-round draw for whoever gets them.
Sure.
It's going to be an exciting tournament. It's at Bloomfield this year, is it not?
Yes.
Bloomfield,
Yeah.
okay. So
Bloomfield.
there'll be some good action.
Forshee there in the middle, he's always a factor against any team.
He's going to get a double-double, usually a triple-double every game.
There's just no one to size up with.
Yeah, with shots, with points, rebounds, and blocks.
Yeah.
So, but with someone, he's just not had anyone to help him in Richland for the last 2 or 3 seasons. But if the Grayson kid continues to emerge and play well, they're going to be a load.
Yeah,
Literally.
That's
With Forshee, they're going to be a load.
That's hats off to Matt Klein down over there. First year as coach there, coming in, totally new kids and a struggling program, and putting together a pretty decent season for the Rebels this year, considering
That's right.
the struggles they've had over the past few years. So hats
So
off.
it's going to be an exciting tournament there for the SCAA championship.
Yeah, and talking back to the game from last night that we had. Like you said, Chase Young, DJ Dowdy had big games, and they've got to play well for them to beat good teams like Bernie. They got to show up and play well, and they did. DJ Dowdy knocked down some shots, and Chase Young stayed aggressive to the basket, got to the line, converted at the free throw line. They played good defense, good team defense.
That's right.
And held Bernie from knocking down that 3-point shot, which Bernie went cold from the outside in that game, and they didn't have a big inside presence, which that helped Dexter, forcing them to shoot jump shots, and the shots weren't falling. Just executed well for the Bearcats.
Well, Young and Dowdy are really playing well on both sides of the ball. Their press, full court press, is generating more turnovers, and they're on the front end of that press, of course, so they're getting more layups. So they're just playing much better on both sides of the ball. And of course, their Dexter's schedule is so front loaded. I mean, they played Charleston twice, they played Jackson twice, they played Sykeston right off the bat, and that's a deep hole to climb out of. And so I think mentally they were down, physically they were down, but they're starting to climb out of that hole, and they're really playing a lot better. You got to give Coach Nichols a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and it was Chandler Young, the freshman, left all alone under the basket, and he sealed it for the Bearcats last night.
And Chandler has been dressing out with the varsity most of the season. Hasn't got a lot of playing time, but came up huge last night. Of course, that's Chase's younger brother, and he's got a bright future. That freshman and sophomore class for the Dexter Bearcats is really going to be good when they get up to that upperclassman level. So the future is bright for the Dexter boys program.
All right, now we got an interview with Coach Rob Nichols from last night after the game, so let's take a look at that.
And welcome back. We got a victorious coach tonight, a coach for the Dexter Bearcats, Coach Nichols. Rob, again, congratulations on a great game. A lot of intensity we saw, but we'll let you tell us a little bit what you thought of tonight's ball game.
You know, that was an exciting game. That's what high school basketball is all about right there. You know, back and forth game. And I was real proud of our kids in the end because, that one could have went either way. You bet.
Kevin Bishop and I had the honor and the fun to call the game tonight, but we were talking about how impressed we were with the intensity that the Bearcats came out with early in the game and maintained it pretty well throughout the entire first half and on through the third quarter as pretty well, other than a short period at the very beginning of the game. I think we fell down 4-1, but tied it back up. You took the lead and led after 3 quarters.
Right.
Mules came out really hot there in the fourth quarter, seemed to get the excitement going, and they got their crowds in this thing, and maybe it took the momentum, but you had a couple of key timeouts. You were able to get your players calm, cool, and collected. They came out, and they made the execution there at the end. And real quick, I'll let you comment on that, and then I just wanted to say something about the last bucket there by Chandler.
Okay.
Go right ahead there.
Yeah, I thought we came out with a lot of good intensity and played with a lot of effort and sustained that for 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, we were still playing hard, but they turned the pressure up, got us a little bit rattled. We made some mistakes, just out of playing too fast, and that's a credit to them. But that's also what I'm most proud of. We got down 4 points, and we got some kids that are inexperienced and kind of grew up before our eyes and made plays and came back and got that lead. That's what I'm most proud of.
You bet. And that Bernie Mules defense, I'm sure it's by design, even though Coach may never say, it seems to kind of feed that offense right down here low in front of that student section.
Right, yeah.
You don't ever see the ball going much over there in front of the adults. It's right down here in front of those rowdy students, and I think that sixth man right off the court had a little effect on us too. But really want to say the execution on that last play coming out of the timeout, the ball movement, and it dumped down low to Potts, forcing Baker to come over. As any defender, you got to guard the ball, and Chandler picking that read up, falling underneath. Potts know he's going to do it, dump the ball off, and Chandler with the biggest basket of his young Bearcat career to put them up 2 points with under 8 seconds to go.
Yeah, they executed that play perfectly. The play's designed for Brad, but, Brad did a great job of not panicking and knowing Chandler was going to be there. And Chandler made that bucket, but, a possession or two before, he got a huge steal.
Yes.
He got a huge steal in the press, so, that's great for Chandler, especially as a freshman. That's really exciting to see that out of him.
You bet. And you commented, too, on Brad Potts, who, again, I'm just more impressed with him every game I play. He's got great parents, and but him being the junior, knowing the freshman's on the court with him, he didn't panic, felt the defense, but has enough faith and confidence in his teammate to do the right thing and dish the ball off, knowing he's going to be wide open and having faith that the freshman's going to execute.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Brad trusted him, but, a lot of players would just take that shot, but Brad knew that he was over there and made the pass. That's very unselfish, and a lot of guys would panic there. So, you got to really appreciate what Brad did there.
You bet. What we see a lot, too, a lot of players, like you said, they go up for that shot, but not really go up for the shot, but looking to go up and get a foul.
Right.
And a lot of Lloyd Rice would tell us, these guys, these referees, they do a great job, but they're not going to bail a kid out.
Especially late in the game like that. You've got to make the play. They're not going to bail you out.
But you're in control and executing, and there's a foul. But if you get a little going too fast and you lose control and you just lean or reach to try to get bailed out, they won't do it.
Right. That's just a great job by the kids there at the end. Nothing special on the play drawn up. Just a simple play, but they executed it well.
You bet. Well, again, we won't take up any more of your time, but thanks for stopping by. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And best of luck in the upcoming rest of the season.
All right, thanks.
And as you can imagine, Rob very pleased with his win last night, and they'll look to certainly build on that for the remainder of the season. And looking at other games last night, Sykeston suffered their first loss of the year against a talented Maplewood Richmond Heights team, so no shame in losing to a team like Maplewood. They've had a great program over the past handful of years, but they finally run into that first loss.
Yeah, a very senior-dominated team there in Maplewood Richmond Heights. They've got 10 seniors on the roster, and I read an interview with Coach Corey Frazier. Of course, he's a big Charleston alumnus, so a little added motivation there to beat Sykeston. But he said their strategy was to come in and take Vashon Ruffin, Sykeston's talented point guard, out of the game, and they pretty much double-teamed him all night, held him to 2 points and 5 assists, and then they really lit it up from beyond the arc. The article I read, I think, said that Maplewood shot like 7 of 9 from three-pointers. So Sykeston made a real late run, closed it to within 4 points, but that's about as close as they got. Maplewood really had a great strategy coming in, and Sykeston will be fine. no shame, as you said, in losing to a very talented Maplewood Richmond Heights squad. They're ranked in the top, 3?
Yeah, I think
in Class 3.
4.
So they're very solid.
Yeah, and Corey Frazier's had a great program there in Maplewood. I remember going back a few years, handful of years, they won it 2 years in a row, the Class 3 state title. So you got a great program up there in Maplewood.
Yes, he certainly
basketball. Yeah, and Charleston suffered their not first loss, but
second loss.
Second loss to Dyer County, Tennessee.
Yes.
Just was that Thursday night?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Charleston played 3 games this week. They defeated New Madrid County Central on Tuesday night. Then they played in Dyer County in the Penny Hardaway Hoop Fest. And that was a tie game going into the fourth quarter. I caught it online, tied at 61. And then, Dyer County's got that Division I prospect there in Hubs. He's already committed to Tennessee. And he just took the game over in the fourth quarter. And they really put it on. Charleston outscored them, I believe, 31-15. Ended up beating them by about 17 points. So tough loss, but they certainly rebounded and hammered Scott County Central on their home floor. And so the Braves' struggles continue this year.
Yeah, it's Scott County Central is going to be able to make a run, but it's not a whole lot of size there. They lose some talent from last year. They'll be in the mix, but just a little more of an uphill fight this year.
Yeah, talent's just not quite there this year with a new coach there, and Frank Staples. I think he's going to do a good job. He was Kenyon Wright's assistant there for several years, and he'll do fine. He'll right the ship, and
well, you can't count these Charleston games as
right.
A measuring stick for the Scott County Central Braves, but they'll be competitive there in the end in Class 1 and potentially make another run. They're going to be right there in the mix.
Last year, people remember last season, Scott County was struggling about this time of year, and everybody was ready to write them off. And, of course, they went on and won their 4th straight state championship. But they are struggling this year. When was the last time you saw the Class 1 top 10 without Scott Central there in the mix? So, but they'll be fine, as you say. They'll make a decent run here at the end of the season. But they're in the same district with Leopold this year, and we commented earlier on how talented Leopold is.
That's a team that we don't see a whole lot of around here. They're up north, and they're a small school up north, so they don't play the Jacksons and those teams. But besides that Christmas tournament, but they're a very dangerous team. They're big, especially for a Class 1 school. They go about 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", and Kyle Stroder kid is a senior. He's a heck of a player. He was a heck of a player last year, and he comes back and he's averaging right around 30 a game, I believe.
Well, if Leopold's going to make a run, this is the year to do it. As you said, they've got, for a Class 1 school, they're very big. They're another team like Maplewood that's very senior-laden. So they'll have a lot of big holes to fill next season for sure. But this could very well be their year. They're going to run into a good team out west, either South Iron or Emmets, whoever comes out of that Class 1 district. South Iron ranked number 1, and Eminence, as we saw earlier, also in the top 10. So, but once they get beyond, if they can get beyond that, then I think they should make it to Columbia for sure.
Sure, yeah, a lot of good teams in Class 3. We're looking at Kennett had some good games coming off the tournament. They've got some wins over Hayti, and then last night they beat Seath Hornersville handily. So they're responding well, coming off their tournament loss to Holcomb, which you'd expect them to. And the Rancho Crothers is on the floor for the Kennett Indians, that talented freshman. He's starting to get back into the lineup.
I believe he's missed the first half of the basketball season with a football injury he was recovering from. So, yes, they've got a lot of talented underclassmen that are getting a lot of varsity minutes for Kennett. Of course, Kennett's problem is they're in the same district with Sykeston, so that's they're going to have to pull a big upset here. Of course, they're going to play Sykeston, I believe, next week at the field house. So that'll be a big test for Kennett to see just really where they're at.
Yeah, a very deep Class 4 this year. With the
and
entrance of Cape Central.
Cape Central moving down to Class 4 this year. So that's going to be very loaded. Cape Central's a young team, too. They've got a freshman starter. It's very unusual for a Class 4 school. But he's very talented, and they've got Jamal Cox, one of the premier post players in the area. But they've been very inconsistent, largely because they're so young. So I still think that's Sykeston's district to lose, but certainly a Cape Central, a Kennett, even a Notre Dame on any given night could, with a very young team as well, could make some noise. So, but Sykeston's just is very, very talented.
They sure are.
They're going to be a handful.
Yeah. And one team I've really looked at over the past week or two is New Madrid County Central. They're starting to play very well, and they're a younger team as well. And they played Charleston pretty well for most of that game.
They did.
And got a win over Cape Central last night.
That's
That's
right.
a big win for them on the road up there in Cape.
Yeah, and that avenged a loss to Cape Central in the SEMO Conference Tournament earlier in the season. But yeah, New Madrid is another young team that's got a bright future, and they've been a little up and down so far this season, but they've had a very difficult schedule. So Coach Day looks like he's really putting a good program together down there at New Madrid, and they're the one team that's probably going to may give Charleston some trouble in their district.
Yeah.
Come playoff time.
Yeah, that district's thinned out a little bit with Kennett leaving.
That's right.
So,
and Caruthersville struggling this season.
You're used to seeing that district about 4 teams deep there. So
that's right.
It just strengthens Class 4 a little bit with those 2 teams entering in Class 4. And, looking at the smaller schools now, we're seeing Portageville start to come on stronger now. They got a sizable victory over South Penn last night.
That's right. Portageville really struggled early on, and but they seem to be getting their act together. They've got a good win, as you say, last night against South Pemiscot, and hammered the Bulldogs pretty good. And South Pemiscot is a much improved team this year as well. That Class 2 district down there is just loaded with Bernie and Portageville and South Pemiscot and Holcomb. So Hayti in there in the mix as well. And then you go just a little further up north, got Advance and Oran. I'm a little surprised Oran's not getting any more attention in the Class 2 top 10 rankings. They're sitting there at 13-2, and they've got some impressive victories as well over Advance and they just hammered Scott Central in the Christmas tournament a few weeks ago. So I think you'll see Oran in the top 10 before long, and they're a very talented, senior-laden, experienced squad that you can't overlook. They made a nice little surprise run in the to the quarterfinals last year in Class 2.
Oran, they lost to Hayti.
Yeah, Hayti. They ran into, of course, Hayti was on such a run at that point, and they beat Oran pretty badly.
Oran pretty much brought everyone back from that
They sure
team.
did. So they're definitely not a team to overlook. You can't overlook Advance. They're very talented with Barr and Ballou, really putting up a lot of points every game. And, of course, Bernie beat them recently, but on a Hail Mary from Sam Turner 3/4 of the way down the court. Even Coach Botch said, sheer dumb luck, but we'll take it. So going to be a lot of good basketball played in Class 2 in SEMO over the course of the next month.
Yeah, sure will. And going down to Class 1, Risco's team that's there in the mix, they've got some impressive victories over the past week, and they took one on the chin from Leopold, but they got a nice victory over Clarkton the other night and one over Campbell last night. So that potential Holcomb-Risco matchup that's next Friday night, and their Risco might end up being a good one.
Yeah, Holcomb's already beaten Risco once this season, but clearly they're the top 2 teams in the Tri-County Conference this season, just head and shoulders above the rest of the league. So Risco's another team that's been up and down. The Tigers have struggled with some injuries throughout the season. They got hammered by Leopold, but Risco hadn't played a game in 2 weeks over the Christmas break, so definitely some rust there. Risco definitely will be the favorite coming out of their district again this year, and they'll probably get a chance to play Leopold again if Leopold can win their district and knock Scott Central and Oak Ridge out of the mix. But Class 1 be very, very exciting as well. We've got some very competitive schools here in Southeast Missouri.
Sure. And on the girls' side, Dexter just continues to roll. They've had an impressive season so far and a big win last weekend over Webster Groves.
That's right.
And they're hitting on all cylinders right now.
They really are. There's just no weaknesses in this team. The real shame is they're in the same class with Incarnate Word out of St. Louis, and they're nationally ranked. They are very, very good, and they just hammered Miller Career not long ago, who beat our girls earlier in the season. So the good thing is, though, that Miller Career and Incarnate Word will knock each other out probably, and it'll probably be Incarnate Word doing the knocking. So if we see either one of those schools, it won't be until the Final Four, but I think our girls really got a great shot to go up there to Columbia, and who knows?
I think that's one thing
they're
that
really playing well.
They have the potential to beat anyone with that 3-point shot. They've got 3 or 4 girls that can just knock it dead,
Right.
and that 3-point line is the X factor when it
That's
comes
right.
to college and high school basketball. So,
And they're really good in the paint as
Yeah.
well. Brittany Harris just set a school scoring record in girls basketball, and she's really a force inside. So they're really playing well. They're certainly a team nobody can take for granted. They've got an interesting matchup with Saxon Lutheran coming up in a couple of weeks.
that's one thing that's kind of went under the radar. We
They
don't
do.
talk about Saxon Lutherans and girls often, but they put
Well,
in a fine season together.
And they're very young but very talented. They start 4 freshmen along with a
4
senior.
freshmen.
So and they're very good. They've got big wins over Notre Dame and Cape Central and Woodland and so they won the Kelso girls shootout up there, and they just won the Delta New Year's girls tournament. So Saxon Lutheran's very good. Certainly not a team you can overlook, and they're going to be very good for years to come.
Yeah, they sure are. Taking a look at going forward from this point, we got some conference tournaments coming up. The Stoddard County Conference tournaments being seeded this morning. That'll be later on in the month, and also the Tri-County Conference Boot Hole Conference. So
Scott, Mississippi.
Yeah, Scott, Mississippi's coming up. So we're getting into that time of the season, heavy into conference play now. About to head into the tournaments, and should be some exciting tournaments later on this month and into February.
Well, that's true. That's very true. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about some of the big schools. 2 teams to keep your eye on that are very quietly putting together good seasons are Poplar Bluff and Jackson. Poplar Bluff sitting there at, I think they're number 3 in the SEMO Sports Zone Top 25. They won again last night, just hammered a very good Twin Rivers team. So they're sitting there at 10-3. Jackson plays today for the championship of the Lindbergh Invitational Tournament. And they were seeded number 5, but they beat Miller Career Academy in the first round. Yesterday, they knocked off the number 1 seed, Rockwood Summit. A little payback from football when Rockwood defeated Jackson in the district championship. And so they'll play Hillsboro, I believe, today in the championship. So those are 2 teams, and they're in the same district. They play, I think, next week as well. And the winner of that game will probably be in the Catbird seat for their district title. Poplar Bluff did defeat Jackson in the SEMO Conference tournament earlier this year, but 2 teams that started slow and are really building some good momentum. So 2 teams to keep your eye on for sure.
Sure. And you'd like to see some movement in that Class 5. I know it's tough, but, if we can get Poplar Bluff, Jackson, they're in that Class 5 to put some things together. I know
That's
it's
right.
awful tough in that Class 5 because as soon as you get out of that district, you're running into a top-tier St. Louis team.
Right.
It's awful competitive.
It sure is, but both teams, they're both very tall, and the guard play is developing, so not a team to overlook by any stretch. Whoever wins that district, Poplar Bluff or Jackson, and I think clearly they're the top 2 teams in that district, then they will they'll be a handful going on. But as you say, traditionally very tough once you start running into some of those upper tier big St. Louis schools.
Sure. And let's transition to some other sports. I know you stay on top of the high school wrestling scene here in southeast Missouri, so can you give us some update in that regard?
Sure. Our SEMO area schools continue to have a great deal of success. Last Saturday, a week ago today, Dexter went up to the Park Hill Central Invitational and took 2nd place. That was a tournament that's done a little differently. They put the 12 schools into 4 pools, and then Dexter won their pool, went 2-0, and then they won their next 2 matches and advanced to the championship game, or championship duel, I should say, against DeSoto. Our young Bearcats kind of got it handed to them by the Dragons in the championship, but still they did very well. We've got one kid that's state ranked with Trevor Waldner. He wrestles at about 132, so he's very, very talented. Only 1 loss on the season, so he should make some noise come the state tournament. We've got some other young wrestlers. Dexter's got a very young team, only 1 senior right now, and my oldest son Logan is the only senior on the team, wrestling a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. Sykeston is also continuing to perform very well. Last Friday and Saturday, they went up to St. Louis and competed at the Vianney Invitational, brought home 2nd place, and they've got some wrestlers that will make some noise, especially their 195 wrestler, Nichols. Our viewers will probably remember that name from football. Outstanding football player, outstanding wrestler. I understand the University of Iowa is looking at him, and that's cream of the crop when it comes to college wrestling. So he's very talented. They went up to St. John and kind of took it on the chin later in the week. They lost, it was a 14 duel, and they lost to Jackson and St. John in a very close one. They dropped to Windsor. That went to a tiebreaker. They lost by 1 point, but certainly no shame in losing to Jackson and St. John. They're two of the premier wrestling teams in the area. Cape Central went 2-0 in duels this week. As Notre Dame hosted a duel that they went 2-0 in. So a pretty good week overall in terms of high school wrestling here in Southeast Missouri. Dexter this Tuesday, the 15th, is hosting a 4-team duel. They've got Festus and Notre Dame coming to town, as well as a school from Southern Illinois and Anna Jonesboro. Festus is one of the teams that Dexter defeated at the Park Hill Central Invitational. But they've got some very good wrestlers, one state-ranked wrestler at 182 pounds. And then don't know what Anna Jonesboro has got. Notre Dame is they just don't have a full squad, so it's hard for them to compete when it comes to duels. But they've got some very talented individual wrestlers. And then after that, the SEMO Conference Tournament at Poplar Bluff. It's a Friday-Saturday duel, and you've got all of the top schools in the area: Jackson, Farmington, St. Genevieve, Dexter, as well as Sykeston and New Madrid, Notre Dame, Cape Central, of course, Poplar Bluff. So going to be some great wrestling, a lot of state-ranked wrestlers. So I invite people to come out Friday and Saturday there at Poplar Bluff High School and see some great high school wrestling.
Sure. We typically have some good wrestlers here in Southeast Missouri that make some pretty good runs when it comes to state competitions. So.
That's true. Every school, all 7, 8, 9 schools in the Southeast Missouri area sent wrestlers to state. Most schools sent multiple wrestlers, but every school sent at least one wrestler to state last year, and I don't expect that to be any different this year.
Sure. So we'll be looking forward to that for things developing in the high school wrestling scene here in Southeast Missouri. And pretty much one other headline around is Coach Aaron Pixley, football coach for the Dexter Bearcats, informed that his players this week that he's going to accept the coaching position at Kennett for next season. And that's kind of the big football news. We don't really have much football news here in the winter, but big news there. Aaron Pixley going to move on to Kennett and be their head football coach. So that's a big gain for the Kennett high school football program.
That sure is. Dexter struggled in football this past season, only winning 1 game, but that's certainly the exception, not the rule, as far as Coach Pixley's program in Dexter is concerned. And my boys, both on the football team, they were in the meeting that Coach Pixley called this past week, and he told them that it was purely a financial decision on his part, that the 1-9 season had nothing to do with it. They just essentially made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And so we wish him the best of luck. Certainly Dexter's lost is Kennett's gain, and I have no doubt he'll turn that struggling Kennett football program around. They're going to put him in charge of pay him to be in charge of the Little League program down there. So it looks like they've really committed to him for the long term, and that's really what they need to do down there. They've been through, 2 or 3 football coaches in the past 5 or 6 years down there, but they've really made a long-term commitment to Coach Pixley, and he's going to do a great job down there turning that program around.
Sure. Now, they got some young talent down there,
they really
especially
do.
at their skill positions to work with. So he's going to jump in there and I think be competitive right off the bat. He's going to be competitive. Class 3 districts, pretty competitive. Talking about the teams in there, especially when they combine the districts into 8 teams. But,
right.
I think, Kennett's going to be good here in the next few years. They got some athletes moving up. It's going to be a quick turnaround for the Kennett Indians, I believe.
I think so. And, of course, you got to think that the position at Dexter with a rich football tradition is going to be very attractive. Some area coaches, perhaps. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes as they search for their next head football coach. And we'll certainly keep an eye on that as the weeks and months develop there.
Sure. We'll be looking forward to that. And we appreciate you stopping by today, Travis, talking about the basketball and also the wrestling taking place. And
always
got quite a bit of season left in basketball. We got about 2 full months of the regular season into March with postseason play. But man, after that Christmas tournament, you think the season's winding down after all that basketball, but it's just getting started.
The first half wraps up with the Christmas tournaments, and now we're into the second half of the season, and exciting month and a half yet of high school basketball where a lot of things can happen. So it's we've already seen some big upsets, and I'm sure things will be shaken up as the season progresses. So a lot of teams to keep your eye on, and we'll be certainly watching it all.
Sure, we sure will, and we'll be sure to have you back and for the remainder of the season, talk about it more. So
looking forward to it.
We'll do it, and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance is celebrating our 100th year. We started protecting rural farmers way back in 1910, insuring folks no one else would. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance has been a family business for 4 generations, and we continue that tradition today, providing solid home, farm, and commercial insurance at very competitive rates. When the ice storm hit us, we were out there with you. All of our claims were processed within days, and we will continue to provide the best coverage and the best service for the next 100 years. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance, a century of service.
I wanna stay connected to you. I like the way you do what you do. Alright, okay, you're fine.
Call Audubell Hearing Center at 1-800-499-8786 or visit one of our locations in Dexter and Poplar Bluff, Missouri today.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
In addition to unlimited calling, New Wave telephone users have a wide range of great phone features available. And now with the help of New Wave Internet, they're even easier to use thanks to our convenient online phone manager. Just log on to your MyWave portal. Now phone features like call forwarding can be set up instantly from any computer. Reliably activate or deactivate your call forwarding. And even set your home phone to ring once when a call is forwarded. Home telephone service made even better with New Wave Communications. Call today.
And let's take a look at those football matchups for today in the NFL playoffs. We've got the top seed in the NFC, Atlanta Falcons, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. And also we've got San Francisco taking on Green Bay. San Francisco will host Green Bay in the other NFC divisional. On the AFC side, we've got Denver hosting the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots hosting the Houston Texans. Now, those games, Denver and Baltimore, will be at 3:30 today. And tonight's game, do we know which NFC games tonight?
Yeah, give me a second.
And tonight's game in the NFC is the Packers and the 49ers at 7 o'clock. Tonight. And now tomorrow it's going to be the Texans and the Patriots at 3:30, and it'll be the Seahawks and Falcons at noon, and then the Texans and Patriots at 3:30. So those are the games to look forward to this weekend in the NFL playoffs. Some great matchups, and after this weekend we'll have the conference championship set in the NFL. And let's take a look at some upcoming games here on YHC and SemoSportsZone.com to look forward to. We'll have the Mullen JV Tournament Finals today at 12:30. That will be an online broadcast through SemoSportsZone.com. You can also check it out at YHCTV.com. That'll be today at 12:30. That's Bernie versus New Madrid County Central. That will be live online, SemoSportsZone.com. So be sure to check it out today. Now, 15th. Next Tuesday, we've got South Pemiscot at Kennett. We're going to try to do that one live on SeaMo Sports Zone as well as YHC TV, Channel 21. Friday the 18th, we've got Holcomb at Risco. That will be live on both TV and online. The next Monday, the 21st, we got Portageville at Gideon. Also, we got Risco at Gideon the next night on Tuesday. And that Friday night, we'll have the Stoddard County Finals at Bloomfield. All 4 games, the championship and third-place games of both JV and varsity, starting at 4 o'clock that Friday the 25th. Now, the next Tuesday, Holcomb at Bernie. That'll be live on TV and SeaboldSportsZone.com. And the 31st on Thursday, we got Advance at Risco. That'll be live as well. So some great matchups in the weeks to come here on YHC and online at SeaboldSportsZone.com. So be sure to tune in for those games coming up. And be sure to tune in at 12:30 later on here in just about an hour and a half or so. And we'll see you then for that Malden JV Tournament Final. And see you for next week's Roundtable. And until then, I'm Tyler Widener. Have yourself a good one.